Hope everybody had a great weekend and a happy Father's Day. I'm sitting here today with 3 kayaks. Only one of them's mine. I had to borrow 2 to make this video. What we're going to do, I'm going to do a comparison video with the Whale Shark and a couple other kayaks. And since the Whale Shark is 13 feet long, it's longer than any of my other kayaks. I wanted to get something to compare with the length on it, and so I've got a Jackson Cuda 14 over here, and the Whale Shark is a very wide kayak, and I wanted something to be able to compare the width with it. So I have a New Canoe Frontier 12 over here, and we're going to be comparing some of the features. I'll go over the features of each one, and we'll get them out on the water and see how they stack up against each other for stability and handling, stuff like that. Okay, starting with the Cuda 14. I'm sorry. At the very beginning, you have your handle. These are standard rope handles. There is a small bungee net to tie things down on, and the bungee net is on top of a rod tip guard. So when you lay your rod down in the kayak, you can stick your tip up inside here and it won't catch on branches and brush as you go downstream. There's a large deck hatch in the beginning, has access to the inside of the hull, a big console. The Cuda 14 is a paddle kayak only. There's no provision to add a drive to it. In the beginning, you have a big console. This console's got a console bucket in it. Also gives you access to the inside of the hull. And it straps down to keep it secure. Adjustable foot pedals. It has a removable seat, similar to the other two. It's a lawn chair style seat. Very comfortable seat on this one. And there are also some added on accessories. There's a camera mount added on up here and a ball mount back here. So we'll move to the back. We have rod channels to lay your rods down with. Now this kayak has no flush mounted rod holders. I think on each side where the ball mounts are is where you would put a flush mount rod holder if you wanted to add one, but it didn't come from the factory with them. It has a paddle part on the side. Now this one goes across that way. It has handles on each side. They're not molded in. They're plastic handles, but they're secure. Got good under seat storage. The seat also comes with a storage pouch on the bottom of it, and then there's plenty of room under the seat to be able to store things. Got a large tank well, and in addition to the bungee net across the top tank well, it's got bungees inside to tie down your crate or your cooler, whatever. And then another hatch in the back that also gives access to the inside of the hull. So this kayak is a fairly bare bones fishing kayak. It is 14 feet 3 inches long. It's 31 inches wide. It weighs 80 pounds. Has a 400-pound capacity. It'll get you out in the water. I know this particular boat belongs to my son-in-law, and he's taken it on even some of the small creeks and rivers that we kayak on, and has had no problem with it. It tracks well. It's a fast boat, and he's enjoyed it. And so once we get out on the water with it, we'll give it a try and we'll see what it's like. Now we'll move over here to the Whale Shark. And if you saw my introductory video on the Whale Shark, you already know most of the features of it. All of the handles on the Whale Shark are molded in. It does have a lot of gear tracks up here. up here, down in the cockpit, and back aft. It has 6 flush-mounted rod holders. Now the Whale Shark is 12 feet 10 inches long and 37.5 inches wide. According to Hammerhead Kayaks website, it weighs 121 pounds and has a 601 pound weight capacity. So you can see here the molded in handles. And I'll go over some of the other features as we move along with these. But also a removable seat. Now the seat on this kayak does not have so much in the way of under-seat storage available to you. The seat is a 3-position seat, and the framework sits down fairly close to the deck as it is. But it does have a huge tank well. It's like I said before, I've got a 110 quart Yeti cooler that'll fit in there just fine with no problem. I forgot to mention the Cuda 14. I'm not sure if Jackson still makes this. They, you know, all the companies are constantly evolving their product line. I know this one, when it was new, sold for $1,199. The Whale Shark, at 13 feet with 1 drive. Now, there are 3 drives available for the Whale Shark, but you have a choice of either a propeller drive or a fin drive. When you buy it, you can buy the trolling motor as an extra or an optional accessory. It sells for $16.99 with your choice of drive in it. The extra drives for it are, I think, $400, something like that, and the trolling motor was $200 or $300. And then we'll move over to the Frontier. This is a new canoe, Frontier 12. It's more of a hybrid canoe slash kayak than it is a pure kayak. But we'll take a look at some of it. You see in the front, it's got a screwed down handle. Again, not molded in, but it is pretty solid. Now this boat also has rod tip guards. They're not as big as the one on the Cuda over there, but it's pretty good size. We'll open it up. You see you've got ample storage inside. Now this is a bag in the storage, and I think if you remove this bag, you have access into the tank well, or I'm sorry, into the hull beneath it. So this is again not my kayak, so I'm not going to go digging things out of it, but I will show you what it has available to it. It's got this thing's got gear tracks all over too. It's got 2 gear tracks, 8-inch tracks up here on the bow. It's got the main tracks that the seat and the foot pedals are mounted on that run most of the length of the kayak. It has a 6mm thick deck padding installed, and that's a 20-inch wide standing deck right here. And then it has a fairly small tank well, but it's pretty spacious in that it does have a provision, a place to tie your crate down. There's 2 more 8-inch tracks back here and some pad eyes back here. So there's plenty of room to tie stuff down, and I can assure you that when we go kayaking on this thing that she has this thing absolutely loaded. So it'll carry a lot of stuff. Now this kayak has a paddle park on each side, just like most do. It has handles on each side here. These are strap handles, and they're secure. This is a good, solid, thick boat. Now the Frontier is 12 feet long. This boat is 41 inches wide. That's wider than some John boats. It weighs 80 pounds and has a 650 pound weight capacity. One of the interesting features of this is the elevated seat. Like I said, the seat mounts onto the gear track here, and you can adjust it forward, backwards. And this is a 360-degree seat. It will rotate all the way around. Also a very large, very comfortable seat. Now, as it comes, the Frontier, this boat retails for $16.99, and you can see there's no well in here to be able to add a pedal drive. But New Canoe does make a pedal drive for it. It bolts down onto the gear tracks up here where the foot pedals are, and then there's a cable that goes, and the actual propeller or the motor part of it mounts on the back. You can also mount a trolling motor back here on the stern, and you can make provisions for foot control, whatever you need to do with it. This is a very versatile platform. Now, I will say that their pedal drive for it and the electric drives that they make specifically for this kayak are very expensive. But you can configure this kayak however you want to do it. So that's the three of them. Let me get them flipped over and we'll take a look at the whole design on the bottom and compare those. Okay, so the first one, looking at the bottom of it, this is the Jackson Cuda 14, and you can see that it's got a very well-defined keel at the bow and back at the stern, and so that should help with tracking. That and the length of the kayak overall should help a lot with tracking. It's a fairly standard hull configuration. It's not quite a flat bottom. It is a very shallow V bottom here. It does have some, the stability pontoons out on the sides, 8 scupper holes, and a replaceable keel guard back here on the stern. Now, one thing I like about this kayak is the plug is right back on the very end of it, so if you stand this thing up and get that plug out, if there's water in that hole, you're going to get it out of there. That's the Cuda 14. Okay, this is the Whale Shark upside down. You can see the length of the hull right here. It has a fairly well-designed keel, or a fairly prominent keel, and that should help with tracking. Kind of strange, you look at the bow, and all 3 sections of the keel don't join into one bow. They all 3 different bows come up to the top of it. So you have almost like a modified tunnel hull or a trimaran hull. You have 2 large pontoons on the outside of the boat for your reserve stability. Now, this kayak, as you see, is transducer ready. This is your transducer wheel. The seat is probably about right here, so it's right under and just behind you. There are 11 scupper holes on this kayak, including the one up in the bow storage that you can use as a cooler if you want. This one has an undermounted rudder, so the rudder is always deployed. It's always ready to go. This rudder is slightly lower than the back of the keel right here, so it's protected from being knocked off or hung up on rocks, trees, stuff like that. And that's the Whale Shark. Okay, and here's the Frontier upside down, and you can see a very well-defined and very sharp-pointed bow around here. That'll help a lot with the tracking, and there's another feature back aft that I'll point out. Now, the Frontier of the 3 of them is probably the closest thing to a true tri-hull or trimaran hull. The center section of the hull here is very wide, and then you have these large outer sections. They do have a shallow groove in them, and I'm sure that's for tracking as well. But this, I'm fairly certain once we get in the water with it, will prove to be a very, very stable boat. Now, you see what looks like scupper holes all along on each side. Those are not scuppers. They actually don't go anywhere, and I'm not sure exactly what they're about. This kayak has 2 scupper holes, and that's the 2 right back here in the aft. This is the other feature that I was talking about to assist with tracking. It has a broader keel that comes to a point up here. This boat is not made specifically for fishing like some. This one is basically an outdoor adventure boat. It's made for fishing, hunting, recreational kayaking, whatever you want to do on it. So as wide as it is at 41 inches, it should prove to be a very stable platform to do pretty much whatever you want to do on it.